Community Beacon, Fridays at 6:30 EST, with your hosts Michael Seville and Joel Simmons. A channel whose focus is liberty. A place where the lessons discussed and taught will create openings to a more open and freer mindset. A mindset where you may reach the height of your potential and excel. Here are your hosts, Mike and Joel.
Happy New Year, Happy New Year, Happy New Year, Happy New Year. What's going on, brother?
Happy New Year. You're right. You are certainly right. I've been getting thrown off. It's 2022. Back in the place to be. First show of the year. Live in charge, man. Shouts out to everybody that's checking in with us.
Yeah.
As you know, I'm the host with the most, Mike Seville, and one of my most favorite people in the world.
Wow.
Brother Joel Simmons, Elder Joel Simmons over there with the Tenacity Foundation. We're back in the place to be, and we appreciate each and every one of you guys for continuing to rock with us, going into the new year, from last year to the new year. Real quick with the housekeeping, please like and subscribe to the channel. Like and subscribe to the channel. Please share it to those who you think may want to hear what it is that we have, that you know, some of the things that we're bringing out here to you. And of course, if you all didn't get a chance to watch the 2021 episode, if you didn't get a chance to watch the 2021 episode, you are sorely missing out. It was jam-packed. What was it, maybe 50 minutes, 45 to 50 minutes?
Yeah.
People, please go back, take a look at what we were doing last year, 2021, how we've progressed from looking like prisoners in our own homes to now with our dope setups. And so like I said, each and every day we appreciate you guys. What's going on? I see Herb, what's going on? We have to do lunch. Let's make it happen this month. Let's make it happen this month, man. Herb Sennett, of course, over I met Herb at the Palm Beach Toastmasters Club. Yeah, Herb is a really, really good guy. So shouts out to Herb. And thanks for checking in with us, man.
Absolutely. I just saw him just a few days ago.
Okay.
And we had a great time at the Toastmasters. You know they miss you, Mike. They miss you, man. I heard that you were on here. They were just like, wow. And Ed is like, listen, tell Mike he's greatly missed, and we're ready for him to come back. I know he's doing great things, but we're ready for him to come back. I say, yeah, I'll tell him.
I have to open up. I have to open up some of that time to get back to Toastmasters because I love it. Look at Jeremy, man. Shouts out to my guy Jeremy, my real estate accountability partner over in South Carolina. People, if you are looking for a home in South Carolina or looking to sell a home in South Carolina, Jeremy is the guy. One of the most dependable people that I know. We're up at early 7 o'clock in the morning, having our conversations, getting ready to start our day. So shouts out to Jeremy. And real quick in regards to Toastmasters, and which I will be getting back into.
Come on, let's go, brother.
I have to. Almost everything you see here is attributed to Toastmasters. Maybe when I was first making the decision about going in a direction that I wanted to go in with my life, making these different transitions, Toastmasters was a huge part of it. So much love to everyone over at Toastmasters. Of course, I already mentioned Herb Sennett. We got Ed over there. Man, I can't wait to go back and do my first speech because that speech is going to talk about Ed. And I keep saying so they'll ding me all day long with that. So
that's all right. We got you.
I appreciate Toastmasters, everybody checking in with us on this 6:30 Friday night, rocking into the new year. We're going to get into talking about legacy. Yeah. Really, really deep topic. We're going to give you as much as we can today. This is probably going to be a multiple show topic. Lots of because you can get so deep into legacy, and this is partially what we're striving for. One of the biggest things that we did when we created Community Beacon, and really for the most part, for me anyways, almost everything that I do on social media in regards to documenting has to do with my legacy. I can't I'm gonna love seeing if God permits, grandkids and great grandkids saying, "Man, look at great great grandpa Mike. Look how young he used to look." Up on the show.
For sure, Mike, and not just that, but it's like these seeds. These are seeds, y'all. And if there's anything that you ever want to do, especially inside of a business, and one of the guys that works out of the Tenacity Foundation, Harrison, he's an awesome guy, new employee in the Tenacity Foundation. But one of the things that he pushes is never give up. Never, never, never give up. And the thing about it is, like legacy, it is what you make of it. I mean, let's be honest. There is no legacy without work. You don't just wake up and all of a sudden people remember you. There's millions, billions of people that woke up this morning and nobody knows their name or what they've contributed. And so legacy is just that. It is your contributions. And to put it in a 21st century style of way of saying it, it is your contributions that go viral. All right. That's what it is. I mean, it is people remembering you for what you are. So when they say grandpa, I'm going to go a little step further. When they say great, because I want to give my man some years on life. When they say great grandpa Mike was killing it, just like Jeremy just said, which we appreciate that comment. That was it. When Jeremy said you're killing it on Friday night, we're looking to hear great. I'm doing a LeBron James right now. Great grandpa Mike, great grandpa Joe. They were killing it on Fridays, and it expanded. It just went through the roof, and we're walking in that type of that name today. So I'm loving it.
All right, shouts out to Herb. He said he has to get to a dinner engagement. Man, much love to her for checking in on a Friday night. Go on, Herb. Get to the dinner engagement. Don't keep the lady waiting.
Yeah. Thanks for showing up, Herb. I remember that, man. Thank you.
Excellent. Let's get into some of these questions in regards to legacy. People, you're of course welcome to chime in. Let's have the conversation. Let's get it engaging, because this is not just me and Joel talking. We're all affected by this, and I know we all have some know-how or some thoughts around it. So feel free to put your comments in the post, man. Love you guys. Let's go.
Yeah.
What do we got? Let's go with the definition of legacy. What do we have here?
All right.
Legacy. Go ahead,
two-part thing right there, right, brother? Because I know that there's another piece that you wanted to hit off on too, I believe. But legacy is something that is passed on. It comes from you and from your family. It's a heritage type of thing, a reputation. An example of legacy is family property that has been handed down for generations. And let's go a little bit further. Legacy as a noun is the amount of money or property left to someone in a will. So that can be part of a legacy as well. So, I mean, legacy can have, financial aspects. It can have property aspects. It can have heritage aspects. There's many different things that can denote what legacy is. So come on, brother, tell me a little bit about what you got going on there.
Man, listen, for those of you who don't know, I'm in real estate. And so one of the biggest transfers from generation to generation is going to be in real estate. It's probably for most Americans. What is it? For most Americans, the majority of us, our legacy gets passed down through real estate. And so, and it's the largest, because it's the largest asset held by most of us, right? So that's one way to pass down legacy. You got, people who had, still live in their mother's house, big mama's house, grandpa's house, etc. And that continues to get passed, down through it. So I that real estate being part of one of the greatest things that you possibly can leave to future generations. of course, along with, if you do have some money transfers, some insurance, etc., which I really, really want to get into, and we'll get into a little bit later. Hey, Nicole, what's going on? Shouts out to Nicole. What is it, Nicole? Focus Family Care. Put your information down there in the comments, Nicole, so people know exactly what it is that you do. Great young lady. So, legacy getting passed down through real estate. And like you said, brother, one of the things that happens as well is also our character. One of the things that we mentioned yesterday, or you mentioned yesterday, was Martin Luther King. Look at his legacy, him just being that kind of person, him being his, like, what do you think of when you think of Martin Luther King, right? We're thinking about justice, we're thinking about freedom, we're thinking about
I have a dream.
Say it again.
I have a dream, that's one of the first things that comes to people's mind is I have a dream, the speech. Right. So your words can leave a everlasting impact on society and on your family. And that can transverse into a piece of your legacy. So what you say does matter.
1000%. The character that you have, the integrity that you have. There's certain names and certain family names that when mentioned that you're a part of, it automatically gets you into certain doors. Oh, because right now Joel already has a legacy, because Jonah could have a child and they're going to say, and then I meet Jonah's son or something, and Jonah may not necessarily be around, and he say, oh, my last name is Simmons. I'm a Simmons. Well, I know some Simmons. Is it Joe Simmons? Oh yeah, Joe Simmons, that's my grandfather. Oh, whoa, that's a brother of mine. What exactly do you need? You know what I mean? Like that automatically, so it like walks ahead of you. I mean, can you imagine doing that? Here, and to digress for a little bit, is that it's almost like nowadays a lot of us are not really intentional about what we're doing with our legacy, with our family names, etc. Like it kind of doesn't matter, and it did matter, and it should matter, because one of the things you have to think about, especially when we're talking about legacy, is about the unselfishness of it. Here's a quote that a really smart gentleman said. A really smart gentleman said is that a legacy, being a part of a legacy, is knowing that you may not necessarily reap the benefits of what it is that you're sowing. That's what a long-standing, lasting legacy is. Not knowing that you're not going to reap the benefits of what you're sowing. You put those things together, people, because it's not about you. That's the unselfishness of it. The selfishness of it is that you think that you're more important, that really important, right? The Bible talks about vanities, vanities. But when we're talking about legacy, that's the unselfish part, because you're saying, listen, it's not just about me, it's about what comes after me and how they benefit from it. So how am I going to live my life? How am I going to work my day-to-day to make sure that those that come after me benefit from it? And it doesn't necessarily just have to be your family, because Martin Luther King, it wasn't just for his family. He was talking about future generations being able to get to the promised land when he won't get into the mountaintop. He wasn't talking about his family in particular. Yeah, I know he thought of them, but it was bigger than him. He lived for more than his family. He lived for an entire generation. And of course, this is like the epitome of that.
Go ahead, bro. And that's I'm with you on that. And that right there that you're talking about, that's really like twofold, isn't it? I mean, what you're going through, what you're speaking about, is like twofold. I mean, because when you think about it, what you're saying is, that there is a legacy that is developed inside of a family or within the circles of the family. If you're brought up in the streets of Chicago, then the people of Chicago would know about you, But when you hit like the level of MLK Jr., then at that point in time, you become world renowned, and your legacy goes so far beyond you that, man, people are able to see it in the future. And I mean, literally now to this very day, there are, the children of MLK Jr., the third, they're walking in the legacy, and just about in every single Black community in America, there is a street named after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I mean, he is one of the Black men in North America that is known no matter where you go, from coast to coast, from sea to shining sea, and his name is everywhere. And I think that was powerful. I think Obama did the same thing. He left that type of legacy, as far as it goes on African Americans or on Blacks. There was a great deal of legacy, whether you liked him or not. It doesn't matter about your political stance, because they started to rename streets after Obama, and I think that is a part of that global legacy that begins to happen. So, with that being said, I think that legacy is really a big deal, man. And I don't believe, that Martin Luther King Jr. really thought about it. Maybe like, I don't know, maybe like me and you, Mike, because I do want to leave a legacy. And I know that, and I believe that there are those of certain times that have wanted to leave a legacy, and I believe that legacy building is very important. I'll never forget listening to a tape of Martin Luther King Jr. And it was the middle of the night, and somebody had thrown a rock through his window. And excuse me, I'm sorry, wrong story. The middle of the night, and he got a phone call. And when he got the phone call, he picked up the phone, and the way he described it, he said on the other end of the phone was an ugly voice. And an ugly voice said, and I don't mean to come off graphic to some people, but I'll say it just the way he said it. He said, the ugly voice said, "Nigga, if you don't get out of the town, we going to burn down your house." And with the family in it. And he said he hung up the phone, and MLK Jr., who was a known preacher, the son of a preacher, he said, and this shocked me when I first heard this recording, he said he had to, in the middle of the night, he couldn't go to sleep. He got coffee. And he said that he was sitting there with his coffee, and he began to say, at this time, he had to take Jesus for real. He said, because my father can't help me. Mama can't help me. Jesus had to be real, real, real for me. And he said he bent over that coffee and he started to pray, because he said he believed that what he was doing was right. He believed that the cause was right, but he was shook because of the type of phone call that he had and how that phone call had managed to bypass all securities of his mind, of his conscience, of his character, and it got deep down inside of his bones and into his veins, and it was messing with his mind right then, to the point where he even thought he had to think a little bit differently about his faith. And then he still got up the next morning, and he still went on to go to the mountaintop, in spite of it all. So, what I'm getting at is that I don't believe that he really thought that he was building a legacy. It was that he believed that what he was doing was right. And he just wanted to do the right thing. And I believe that many of us, we are fighting to do something, and I hope we're fighting to do the right things. For me, Mike, in the development of the Tenacity Foundation, it was not just because, I want to go off and make millions of dollars. That's not it. I have a job. I can pay my bills with the job that I have. I can support my family. But it was a number of things, Mike, a number of things. And about how some of those things had caused me to falter, caused me to feel as if I was unsure. It was shaking my foundation. But it wasn't until I got hit while I was working with something, and I recognized that the way people were responding to other people, I didn't like it. I didn't like how they were treating other people and how these people were losing work, losing sleep, stressed out, feeling as if they would no longer be able to work. And that, coupled with all those other things that were happening to me, just made me want to do something different. I wanted to find freedom, true liberty, wanted to break out of the entire shell that I was in, this encapsulation of being held down by the philosophies of other people. And at that very moment, it was like, that's it. I got to do away with everything else. And I started to listen to you, Mike, because you were like, listen, man, I wish you would get in front of somebody and start telling people the things that's on your mind. And you would keep encouraging me with those words. And all of a sudden I was like, that's it. Something's got to change, because people have got to realize that there is something greater than what they have, and it's inside of them. And if there's anything that I can leave on this world, I don't know about you, Mike, I want to leave that I showed somebody that they can make it, irregardless of what they're going through. No matter how much money they got inside of their pocket, no matter how many people are standing behind them, no matter how many people are applauding them, no matter what, that against all odds, you can make it. You can make a difference. You can be whatever you want to be. I know I went off on a little tangent, but forgive me, man.
Listen, I love it. We need it. And Nicole said a good way to start a legacy with not a lot of money is making sure you have good life insurance. And Nicole, let me tell you something. Because I really want to get into it. I want to ease into tonight. I want to ease into 2022.
Don't ease, brother. Get it on there, man. Just jump in.
I have a couple things to say to some of us out here, but I want to touch before I get into it, because I'm really passionate about what Nicole is talking about. I want to talk about what Joe said in regards to himself and Martin Luther King. I listen. I definitely believe that he was thinking he was doing a good thing, just like I know you're doing a good thing. And you were doing good things even before you decided to come out and start the Tenacity Foundation. In order to have a legacy, and this kind of feeds into this insurance portion of it as well, and also into the definition of legacy, is where we spoke about an amount of money or property left to someone in a will. So from Martin Luther King to Joel, and even to that definition, you have to talk about being intentional. You have to talk about being intentional, and you have to talk about putting plans together. Martin Luther King didn't end up being Martin Luther King without having the intention and without being strategic about it. There was a strategy. The boycotts, etc., was a strategy. Rosa Parks being the person who was being arrested, that was a strategy, because there were people that were arrested prior to Rosa Parks. There was another young lady who was pregnant prior to Rosa Parks that was arrested, but they could not use her as the person to spearhead it, because she wasn't married at the time, and back then that was a huge stigma to be unmarried and being pregnant. So they had someone like Rosa Parks come up and step up. And Martin Luther King, they called him. There was a whole strategy behind it. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. And there was a whole intentionality behind it. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. There's a whole intentionality behind the Tenacity Foundation. Otherwise, it won't work. There's strategic planning. So let's not, I don't want to downplay what exactly is going on over there in the Tenacity Foundation, because I know that there's a lot of forethought put into it, and there's a lot of intentionality put through. But it's because of the cause. So I don't want to take away from the cause, but behind the cause, to make it go to that next level, is the intentionality of it. So going back to what, so now let me get into what Nicole spoke about in regards to this will. Because one of the things that we're not talking about, and one of the reasons why we're losing a lot of wealth, especially within our community, is because we aren't having conversations about death. People think, and there's only two things promised in life. They say that's death and taxes. One thing's for sure, two things for certain, is death and taxes. And so knowing that this is gonna that we're more than likely we're not gonna cheat death. I'm wishing everyone lives a long life. But people do pass every day, and when people are passing, they're passing in turmoil. And at the beginning of the show, I spoke about home ownership being one of the biggest wealth transfers. Well, if there's no plan for that wealth transfer, and I don't know how many funerals you guys have been around, especially with close family members. I have been through more than I probably should be. I feel like I should be in my short amount of time on this earth. But there's a lot of emotional thoughts. There's a lot of emotional things going on. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of different thoughts. And when things are not planned out, a lot of that wealth that may have been accumulated or could be accumulated and transferred, these things end up just going down the drain. These things end up being picked up for little or nothing. Houses get lost. It's similar to divorces. Houses are getting lost because of not planning forward. A lot of infighting. There's a lot of turmoil because we're not doing proper planning. And that even goes to the life insurance. If housing is one of the biggest transfers, it may not necessarily need to be, especially within our community. 44% of people in the African American community are homeowners, 75% in the white community. So 44%, but we're losing a lot of that because of not having proper planning. Furthermore, not having life insurance. Nicole brought up an excellent point. If you have children, and I don't care how old they are, they could be 20, 25, 30, 45, and I'm going to get even deeper than that. You should put forth a plan in order to have life insurance, especially if they're under the ages of 18. Because what you don't want to do is leave your spouse, leave your partner, leave your children with the burden of having to deal with losing income, that side of the income. And also not being able to put bills together and getting a short start. And we can transition right into the second part. One of the questions is how does it affect generations, right? Because we can get into that because now we're talking about not leaving. If you're not leaving your children with anything, and they have to start from scratch. And really within our community, they're starting behind the 8 ball because at one point in time, we're telling our children to go get a traditional education and go into college. One of the biggest drains within our wealth comes from student loans. And people are wondering right now, like, oh man, how, even with the pandemic, how are people able to afford a lot of things? Well, guess what? Student loans have been put off for about a year and a half, and now it's been pushed back
to May.
Till May, right? We're 0% interest and being pushed back. Let me give you this stat for a second. 40% of wealth within our community goes towards student loans. So if you're asking where is this money coming from for people to travel and people to do certain things, it's coming because they don't have to pay their student loans. We're talking about 40 people have 40, 50, 60, $70,000 in student loans because they accumulated this at 18. Student loans is one of the only things that doesn't go away when you pass. They're still coming after your assets, because you can also pass debt.
Debt.
I tell you all that. You can also pass debt through legacy. You can pass assets, you can pass debt as well. So student loans is taking up 40% of our wealth. So we're reaching this at a crisis moment within this. We're reaching a crisis moment within this generation. And it's because of the accumulation of the student loans. It's also coming from the fact that we're not doing things such as financially savvy, such as having life insurance. We're not putting wills together to protect the assets that we do have. There's a lot of infighting. People are, so it's at this point. This is why legacy, and this is how it affects the generation. And we'll go into the second question. What about you, brother? Before I get into that,
I'm with you there, brother. I want to mention this. Just the quote also. And we've featured this quote before on our program, but Ecclesiastes 9:11, and when you just think about that, because, the race isn't given to the swift, the battle's not to the strong, bread is not to the wise, riches are not to men of understanding. Favor doesn't come to those of skill, but time and chance. And that's what you made me think about when you talk about Rosa Parks, because I remember that as well. That was the perfect time. The opportunity was there. And, the Montgomery Foundation, they utilized that opportunity for the strike. And that changed the trajectory of the cause because of that. And I think that it's important for us as well, to recognize that there are certain things that happen inside of our lives. And when we take those opportunities, then the trajectory has the probability of changing in a way that we never could have seen it before. There's another scripture that says God would never put more on you than you can bear, but always provides a way of escape. And I know you're getting ready to head down a certain road, but I wanted to kind of capitalize on this thought process because I'm dealing with a whole lot of transition right now. And I want to talk about that transition just a little bit because it helps to develop legacy, because it's the facts, that when you are burdened with something that is heavy and you manage to press your way through it, work through it, you grow. And what can happen because of that growth can be more than what you ever thought of or what you ever could have imagined. So I'm 100% with you when it comes down to this to this plan, because I believe in the plan. I believe that once you see that, and even if you don't see it, all right, say there is no transition. Say you're just, you're steady going all the time. You're always planning, so you almost plan for transitions. Then that's all good. It's great. But without that planning, if you fail to plan, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that is a model that people need to start thinking about, because it's very, very difficult to be successful in something haphazardly. Occasionally it happens. You just happen to be in the right place at the right time. And then, somebody recognizes you and they give you that one shot and you do well. But for the majority of people, you have to start planning your success. And as you plan your success, you should always be planning your successor, because you don't live forever, So you should always be leaving the seeds in somebody along the way. So as you are mentored, you should mentor another. That way, the dream never dies. That way, the thought never always lives. That way, the cause never is broken. That way, you can always rise to the next level.
Come on, brother. Real quick, brother, because when you talk about that, and man, I'm thinking about David when he passed the throne while he was still alive to Solomon, and we know Solomon as one of the wisest men to come to rule, to come on earth, to be on earth, wisest and richest men. Can you imagine the power of being mentored by your father, King David, who's still a powerful man? He could have essentially sat in that throne until he died. But having the ability for David and the foresight to say, listen, I'm going to pass, and people, I hope you're catching this gem. I'm going to pass on. I'm going to go ahead and give Solomon the throne while I am still alive. Install him, that because David had plenty of children. So he could have essentially went to the grave. And even though we could have said, okay, Solomon is the next guy, you're still going to have people who are going to want to be on the throne. You're going to have that older brother that said, but wait a minute. I know what we were thinking, but I need to overtake this throne.
Stay right there, because I want to bring up something. I'll do my best to go back and forth with you so I don't take too much time. Adonijah. All right. Who is that? That is the brother that was older than Solomon. See, we're talking about plans. David knew Solomon needed to take that throne. He knew it. It had to go to Solomon because of the type of individual Solomon was. Solomon would follow the rules and the regulations just like David did. Solomon was always by David's side, hearing the words. Because how do I know it? Because when you look inside of the book of Psalms, if you look inside of all these other books and you hear the reading, how David had instructed him, just like you said, Mike, he kept instructing him on how to follow through. He was primed from a young age, but Adonijah was older. And they plotted against David because David couldn't see and he began to become weary and weak. And so though kings normally die and then the next child in line, the oldest, is crowned, David could not die without passing on his legacy to the child he desired. He had to skip a child to get to Solomon. So, I mean, this is powerful. We're talking about planning your legacy. If you want your legacy to be successful, you have the power to do it while you're alive. But once you die, either your legacy lives or it dies. Mm-hmm. But you have no more control over your legacy because you're dead.
Nothing. Not only did he go ahead and give Solomon the throne, didn't he also give him? He was already prepped to make God's what is it?
His house.
The house.
That's right. And he left him finances and everything.
Everything in order. Listen, it's right. These instructions, these things, it's right there when you see it. And it's interesting because I had a conversation with a gentleman about it, and I couldn't get him to see this. You know what I mean? Once again, and that actually what led to that quote that I came up with in regards to a lot of people. You know, they don't want to plant these seeds for their legacy because they feel like they're not going to be here to enjoy the fruits of it. Some people are so selfish. Some people are so selfish to where they believe that they need to enjoy the fruits of everything that they sow. And it's not about that. You need to plant that tree. You have to start planting the tree now. Be unselfishly selfish. Start putting those seeds in the ground. You may not be the one again, man. You may not be the one to eat from that tree. The tree might take 25 to 30 years to grow, but it's going to be there.
Yeah.
And then people are going to say, listen, remember when great grandpa Joe planted that tree? My mentor, Jim Wolf, shouts out to him. Never forget this conversation. And me and him joke back and forth all the time. So Jim's probably 83, 84. And he was talking about buying land in a certain city. And I said, Jim, why would you buy land in that city? Like you're not going to see nothing. You know, that the plans for that city is probably 40, 50 years out. And he said, it's not for me, it's for my grandkids. When he said that, and I actually joked with him, I said, you're not even gonna be alive. I mean, Jim, do I have to remind you that you're 80 something years old? He's like, it's not for me. This is for my grandkids. This is for them. You know, and so when you start living that kind of way, living that kind of lifestyle, living that kind of thought, having that kind of vision, preparing now, this is just this is generational change, and you have to be the change in that generation. You have to be the change in that generation, man. I'm very, and if you all can tell, because I'm starting to talk really fast, I start to get really passionate about, what's going on for our next generation. We have to remember that life can be gone in an instant. Okay. So what does that mean? That means that you can't wait for tomorrow for a lot of these things that we're talking about. We talk about, when do you build a legacy? That was one of the questions that we have here. When do you build a legacy?
That's what's on my mind right now.
Yeah. For me, it starts now. And legacy, legacy, because legacy is going to go beyond the money. Legacy is going to go beyond the assets that you're passing down. The legacy is also going to be the knowledge that you're passing down. Legacy is also going to be the culture that you're passing down. Legacy is also going to be part of that family structure that you're passing down. So as soon as your children become here, or community, because it doesn't have to necessarily be just your children, okay? As soon as they're here, you already start setting the standard, because they're looking at you. And as much as we want to grow, and and I know Joel and I, we're constantly studying, we're constantly progressing, we're constantly attempting to go to the next level. Because you can't go fat more than what your mindset is, right? So we're constantly trying to make our mindset attain more and obtain more within our mindset. But if you're already having these conversations, if Joel is already having these conversations with Jonah, and Jonah's what is he? He's 10.
Yeah, 11.
11. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Jonah's 11, but Joel's having these conversations forever since since Jonah was born. It's already instilled in him. So now what happens is that Jonah starts to stand on Joel's shoulders. I know we've all heard the quote, standing on the shoulders of giants. So now Jonah can see more. And then Jonah's kids can see more. And then those kids can see more. And that's what it's all about. It's about starting to stand on these shoulders. So it starts immediately. When do you start to build a legacy? Now. Start setting that standard now. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I was just going to, there's an old quote, and you can help me if I'm wrong on it, but I think it was with real estate. And the quote was, when is the best, or the question was, when is the best time to buy property? Yeah. And the answer is last year. The next best time is now.
It was it's 30 years ago.
30 years ago.
30 years ago, because most people have 30-year mortgages, right? Okay. So the best time to buy real estate is 30 years ago and now. Let me talk about that. I want you all to have this sense of urgency going on right now, especially within real estate. I know I sell real estate, but listen, you don't have to buy it from me. You should, but you don't have to.
You should. I mean, I got a nice home, and that's the man, the real estate king, Mike Seville.
But you don't have to. And there's so much business, right? But if you want the best, you come to me. Long story short, there's a huge paradigm shift going on now. And I know we're looking at some of these prices. Last year, real estate went up. It was almost like 13.8% here in South Florida. So which means that every month your homes were appreciating by at least 1%. Now that's a lot. Because when we're talking about, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 homes, it's going up by 1%, and that's on average. For some of the more, if you're dealing with starter homes, which now start at about, let's call it $300,000, right now in Florida, $300,000, you're starting to see that the brother shaking.
No, I'm just saying, 20 years ago, 80 grand. I got into my first house for $80,000. I never forget it. 20, it was actually a little more than 20 years. But yeah, I won't forget it.
Yeah, I bought my first house 19 maybe 20 years ago, 2003, 2002, 2003, and I paid $110,000 for that house back in the day. 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. It was. Anyways, long story short, but interest rates are going down. We're seeing a paradigm shift because we're seeing huge institutional buyers that are coming through and buying out neighborhoods. They're buying out single-family neighborhoods. They're giving them what they're asking for. You want $300,000? It's in a decent school district. Tell you what, I'll buy it. You got a company like Blackstone that has probably $350 billion, and they're using it to leverage that money to buy even more properties. So they're coming in, they're buying the properties, and what are they doing? They're turning around, they're renting it out. Because what's better for a company like Blackstone, which has a $350 billion problem, because they got to get rid of this money. Inflation is at 6.8%. It's sitting in the bank, does nothing for they lose money with it sitting in the bank. It makes more sense for them to have an asset. So now what they're doing, they're buying the $300,000. So when you ask me, there's going to be a huge, price reduction, or a huge correction market, it's not going to happen. They're essentially changing people to the thought of they need to rent. So now for most people, and so it's going to continuously go up. These prices are going to continue to go up until what happens is that you're not even going to be, you're really going to be priced out. So what I tell people now is that if you can afford something, I'm not telling you to go out and buy the biggest, baddest house on the block. I'm telling you, whatever it is that you think that you can afford, you need to go ahead and purchase it. Because if you can purchase what you think, what you can afford now, as the appreciation goes up, that home goes up. So now your home is turning around working for you, because you could have got 13.8% of appreciation if you had bought a home at the beginning of last year, if you were able to. This is where I think the parents need to help out. Our parents, or the baby boomers / Generation X generation, told their children to go out and go to college. Nothing wrong with that. Go get your education. That's part of the American dream. You want that part of knowledge. What happens is that a lot of us went in there and we took out student loans. Remember at the beginning of the show, I was telling you, student loans eat up about 40% of our wealth each year, paying off these student loans. Most of us will never, ever pay off our student loans, or it's going to take 30, 40 years to pay it off. But your parents still own the houses. What I've been saying that a lot of that generation is refinancing the house and doing whatever they want to do with it. Well, I'm asking you. Here's me asking some of the baby boomers, etc. If you're going to refinance your house, go look at the child that went through college and actually excelled through college, got out, got the best job that they could, and they're actually working. If you're going to refinance your house, give them some money towards a down payment. A lot of other traditional groups do that. Or at least go get if you're going to refinance the house, take it and allow them to pay off their student loans. I would rather you perhaps not pay off the student loans for some people because of the interest rate is so low on student loans, but do give them that down payment in order for them to buy a house so they can start accumulating the wealth. Because what's going to happen
with knowledge though, Mike, with knowledge, like people, you got to come see Mike. Me and Mike are going to talk a little bit later on, because I want to put together a program to introduce some of these new time homeowners and how to pick their homes and how to invest in real estate and things like that. And that's why it's good to speak with him, and he's hard to get sometimes. But the knowledge that he's given, you're not going to be able to get all of that in real estate in just this short period of time on Community Beacon. You won't even be able to get all of it on his Civil Discourse or the Monday Night with Mike show at 9:00. But if you can get into his head and start to hear about how these things are working, then you can make a good investment with the money that you do have. Because in America, one of the greatest things you could, utilizing debt is huge in America.
Yeah.
That's how the millionaires keep their millions. That's how the billionaires keep their billions. They don't use their own money. Their own money is inside their accounts and investments all over the place. Matter of fact, it's better to have no money underneath your name because you get less taxes. Yeah. So, I mean, you got to figure out how to not have money and have wealth. It's a total different scenario. Once again, legacy building, right. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. So so this is a part of the legacy building conversation, because we need to have these conversations with our elders we need to have this conversation with our elders. Yeah. You saw that? You have our conversation with our elders, because, and it needs to be this dialogue saying that I'm not coming just to take, I know you want to retire in a certain amount of years, etc., but we need to start thinking about the future. We need, because that these conversations are the conversations that we're not having, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So like this right here, Mike. Okay, so I bought this house.
Right.
And then this house right here, I'm gonna leave it to my child. Right. Let's just say that. I don't know if I will, because my house is worth so much more than what I paid for it. I might just sell it and then buy 2 houses.
Right.
But nonetheless, let's just say I was gonna leave it. I can leave it and put it in a trust. Mm-hmm. And then the trust, the word is I can put down that this child, once they reach whatever level it is, I can put a clause on there. They must have 2 years of school and have a sustained income of $80,000 to $150,000 for at least 2 years, and they receive the house. I can write all that stuff down. I can write it any which way I want to. That's right. The difference between a trust and a will. We have to have another conversation about that. So now they get the house, but I can also put in there that they must take out a loan or a cash out refi on the home, and they must invest in another home that they will leave to the grands. I can set it up so that they can do it. So not only can I teach my child, okay, I'm leaving this for you. Now you have to leave something for yours, and then you have to teach yours that they have to leave something. I can set that up in a trust system. And the greater or the more wealthy I get, the greater I can set things up. So as I'm setting things up, my children should have greater wealth because I'm leaving them wealth. And if I leave them knowledge with the wealth, then they can set it up even better afterwards. Am I right, Mike?
And of course, we're being very rudimentary with it. You're going to want to talk to, obviously, you're going to want to talk to your financial planners, etc. But what the brother is saying is just that. And it goes back to the very basic principle of setting up a plan. We said I said Habakkuk 2:2 should just be our verse. Make it plain so that they can run with it, right? Because that's essentially what you're saying. And really, all of this just goes back to you even just setting up your own banking system within yourself, where you can start to borrow money from this trust, and you have to pay it back at a certain fee. Like there's a million ways that we can slice this cat. But we have to have this plan, and we have to be intentional about doing it. And it's a lot of these conversations we're talking about aren't easy conversations to have. There's a lot of things that have happened there's a lot of trauma that goes on within families that we tend to hold, and there's chips on shoulders, and it's et cetera, et cetera. But if you want to do something, greater, we can't continue going down the same path in which we're going, right? Here's a huge part of legacy is sacrifice.
Yes.
Right. Here's a huge part of legacy is sacrifice. Here we are on a Friday, 7 o'clock or 7 o'clock, getting close to 7:25. Yeah. Here we are on a Friday, and we're doing this show. We can easily have this conversation on the phone, You know, I'm not saying that because we would probably have this conversation anyways. I'm just, just to let people know. But we don't necessarily need to have meetings earlier during the week and take away time from whatever it is that we're doing. We don't need to be here and setting up for this show. We don't need to, the Tenacity Foundation, shouts out to Anna in the background, hiring employees to do a lot of the engineering and production of the show. We could be as selfish as we want to and have these conversations on the phone because we're going to pay for it anyways, and say, bro, this is what we're doing. And we were having these conversations. All right, brother, that's what you're saying? Okay, this is what we're going to do. We said, no, we want to sacrifice, because this is part of our legacy, for the community, because we want to be lights in the community. Yes. We're not, at this point in time, I mean, we are putting seeds in the ground. Don't get me wrong. We are sowing. we are, and this is a part of it, but we may not necessarily reap the benefits of this.
And we don't have to. We're not looking for it. But that's the whole objective in this is to help somebody else escape the doom or the clutches of their own mindset.
But it's a sacrifice because we don't have to do it. And knowing that we're not, we don't necessarily, and knowing that we're not here just to reap the benefits of it. And truthfully, if that was the case, we probably would have quit 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shows ago. Most people aren't going to make it to show 50, right?
Show 18 right here. We're going strong, y'all.
Going strong. We're feeling good about it. So
listen, Mike. Let me finish off that quote, man. The one that I was creating when you went back and I said real estate. The best time to buy. You said 30 years ago. The next best time is now. So the question was, when is it time to build a legacy? And I would say the best time would have been, 30 years. Everybody's not 30 years old. Right. So I at least say last year, yesterday was the best time to start building your legacy. Mm-hmm. But if you didn't start yesterday, start today. Yeah. Start today. Start creating a plan and start intentionally walking in a certain way and doing things that will develop a lasting impression on the lives of your family, your friends, and maybe even your community. Yeah. Leave something for somebody else. Listen, all of us got to meet the maker at some point in the day. I don't care what you believe in. Everybody got to die. Everybody does. I mean, some people are trying to live forever. I don't want to live forever. I want to live 131 years, and that some people look at me like that's crazy.
I thought it was 120. Huh? Why do I keep thinking it was 120? It's 131.
131. And it might be actually a couple of days. I got to go back and do my math just to make sure my prayer isn't hindered. I don't want to die a few days early. But I want to live, 131 years. And my intention is that I want to see all of my children turn 1 century old. That's what I would like to see. I want to see every last one of them turn a century old. And during that phase of time, you all might think this is crazy, but I want to go through the highs and the lows. And I want to be able to see that because I want to feel it. I think about some people who have lived to be 100 years old and they have been through wars and they've been through the depression. They've been through segregation. And they've been through racism and they've been through slavery and they've been through so much and they're still here. And they're such humble creatures, humble beings, because they have seen the worst and the best of mankind. And, I don't know, call me strange, but I want to be able to witness that, feel that, and then I want to be able to hand that over to somebody else as I grow. I want to be a tree that continues to bear fruit for somebody younger. Because for me, y'all, I wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for a certain amount of young men and my mother. My mother, Martin Luther King Jr., and Dr. S.C. Madison, Daddy Madison. Those three right there did more for me in my life than anyone else on the planet. Anybody else on the planet. Those three right there, they did more for me than anyone else on the planet. But then there was about 7 or 8 other people that caused such an earth-shattering impact on me that I am here today. So I want to leave something for somebody. I don't need to know that somebody was affected in a certain way that caused them to desire to live, prosper, or do better. They don't have to come back and tell me. I just want to live the type of lifestyle that in the end, somebody does want to live, be successful, or become greater. I don't have to know it. I'm not looking for it because there's people that don't know what they've done for me. But I'm here today because of what they did. And I think that that's important. So I know there was another question out there, Mike, which was, you know, how young is it, you know, before you start building your legacy? Just start. Yeah, it's on the screen. Thanks, Anna. Just start today. I don't care how young you are. Start today. You're 11 years old and you got the mindset. Start today. You know, I mean, think about it like this. You know, when you have some of these programs that are now being utilized, you know, Amazon, Facebook. I think before that it was MySpace. Now Amazon, Bezos was a little bit older, but when you had like Facebook and MySpace, they were young people. They were from teenage old up to young 20s, and they did something that created a legacy forever. You know, they will always be known for, you know, the MySpace and the Facebooks and stuff like that, and what they did, cracking that type of code. And there's many others that have done these types of things. I do think that, you know, you have the possibility of doing that. Now, the young lady earlier today, Nicole Marshall, that was a powerful thing when she said a good way to start a legacy is not with not a lot of money, is making sure you have a good life insurance. I'm gonna tell you something. I'm a believer in index funds, the life insurance through an index. You guys check that stuff out. You have the ability to do the same things that Mike was talking about. You put that money in, especially while you're doing well in life. See, some people, they don't realize it. They start to do well. Listen, when it comes to money, the nature of human beings in general, especially Americans, but in general, is that whatever you make, you will somehow find a way to use it. I mean, there are those that are very savvy with their money, but the majority, see, listen, there's a reason why those that are extremely wealthy are called 1%ers. And there's a reason why no matter what continent you're on, you know a 1%er, you know a name, because their legacy is in their name, because they reached the 1%er plateau. They are a part of the rich and famous, the wealthy. Their names are there for a reason, because they broke the code. They beat the game. They overcame the obstacle. See, there's a lot of people. Listen, I don't know if you all know, but the majority of millionaires are entrepreneurs in America. The majority of them are entrepreneurs. They've made their first million working hard, hustling, but you'll never know their name. Those 1%ers, though, people know the Donald Trump and the Kanye West. They know these people. They know the Shakira. They know the Oprah. I don't care what continent you go. Everybody wants to hear them come and speak, hear them talk, because they know they broke the code. So what is it? Mike said it earlier. He said it was a plan. You know, these index funds, one of the things that you can do with that type of life insurance is, one, you prepare your family in case you die. Because like Mike said earlier, how many of us have learned that somebody has passed away and they don't have enough money to put their own people in the ground? It shouldn't be. Shouldn't be. Everybody's trying to reach for $50. Why doesn't anybody have $50? Why don't you have $100? American monies. I'm not talking about different continents. You're dealing with different types of things. But in America, how come everybody doesn't have $100 to give to somebody who just passed away, to give to the family member? Why not? Every single American should have $100 to give to a friend or a family member who cannot put their person inside the ground. But for that matter, every single American should be able to put their family members in the ground. That comes from bad planning.
Listen, I'm a big proponent. You need to be able to bury yourself, man.
And big planning. My wife, her father, not only did he set her up to buy her first place, gave her money to buy her first place, but he also paid for the plot for himself, for his wife, and I believe for her grandmother. Everybody was paid for. While he was still alive. Ain't nobody have to do nothing. We weren't calling up people on the telephone. We weren't concerned that nobody was going to come out to the funeral because we were able to pay for everything. I'm not leaving my family like that. God is my witness. Let him give me the ability to. All of my stuff will be paid for because I'm thinking in advance. That's my objective. That's what I'm doing today, not tomorrow, not next year, not in 50 years from now when I'm barely able, to do the type of work that I can do now. So that's why you build your legacy now. That life insurance, Mike, with the index, you can borrow against that. You don't even have to pay it back if you don't want to. You can, though, and it goes back into your pocket and it builds. But we have to talk about that some other time. Yeah, man. But that's one of the ways to go.
It's definitely one of the ways to go, and especially if you have a decent income coming in. Let's call that insurance 102.
Not even decent, Mike. Not even decent. Let's crush that right there.
No. What I'm saying, Let me finish, brother. Let me finish.
Okay, come on.
Yeah, let me finish. We'll call that insurance 102. Okay, because it's a little some people can't even grasp. You said index, a lot of people, it'll go over some people's head. I'll go over 102. Simple term life insurance. Term. I don't even want you to get fancy with it. I want you to be under 50 years old, paying $40-50 and getting and unless you have like a lot of physical, documented illnesses, whatever. I'm saying for the average person, $40-50, you're in decent health, and you got 40 grand, right?
Now, Mike, you can do $40 or $50 with the index.
Well, you just said index, that you lost me. I'm just talking about.
You could do that.
I'm not saying you can't. All I'm saying is that I know that. I don't know. I'm just telling you that a simple term life insurance, 20 to 30 years, you're spending $40-50 anyways. Okay, it could be index, whatever it is. Take your $40 and you should be able to afford that. Don't eat for 2 days.
Put Starbucks down. Put the Starbucks, the McDonald's, the Burger King.
I don't care whether it's. I don't care if you are on ramen noodles. Okay, I'm just saying you should be able to get $40 some kind of way to pay off that insurance, especially if you have kids, especially if you have a wife or whatever the case may be. I think it's a very simple thing. Go look about it. You're under 50 years old. You're under 55 years old. It's not very expensive. Go figure it out. If you have mortgage, go look. If you have a mortgage and it's you and your wife, or it's you're the breadwinner, or your wife is, however, for each of you on this mortgage, go learn about insurance, that if something happens, that it'll pay off the mortgage. I think people should take out as much debt as they can bear. Right? Take out as much debt as you can bear. Don't leave your family with it. So because some people can't handle as much debt as other people. So I remember I had a mentor. He used to own car lots. His monthly payment, he knew he had to come up with was like 400 grand. 400 grand a month. And he knew that he had to sell X amount of cars in order to get to this 400 grand to cover him, right? He said I had to cover this X amount to cover this 400 grand. A lot of people can't go on vacation from their job and in their mind saying, well, are these people selling these cars? I remember he told me a story one time where he was here. I think he had a couple car lots in the Midwest. Something happened to the phone lines. He's calling from Florida trying to figure out, this is back in the day, 1980s, 90s. He's calling on the phone line. Nobody's picking up. He's thinking nobody's at the car lot or they knew he was gone. They were playing around. So he's about to jump on a flight to go back to the car lot to figure out what exactly is going on because he has a $400,000 that he needs to be in the account at the end of the month. That's pressure. Like when he said that, I looked at myself. I was like, listen, I'm glad I don't have that kind of pressure, but he built that kind of pressure. But what I'm saying is that if something happened to him, he knew that he can get rid of all of that for his family. His family does not have to take care of it. So whatever kind of debt you have, if something happens to you, make sure that it's able to be taken care of for your family. And it's not happening. Joe mentioned something where he said, what'd you say? It was time and chance.
That's it.
Don't leave it up to chance, people, because even with the housing market, like say something happens and all of a sudden you have to sell your house. Well, if something happened and it happened now, okay, you guys are okay. Let's say something happened and it happened back in 2009, 2010. You are in trouble because you don't want to leave it up to chance. This is where the proper planning comes in. I wish we could joke about this. This is some serious. These are some very simple things that we can go ahead and actually better our lives and better the lives of the people that come before us. Don't be selfish, man. Who did you mention? Martin Luther King, your mother, and dad, and Bishop Daddy Madison, S.C. Madison. Is that correct?
That's it.
Right.
That's it. Those are my three heroes right there.
And I love it. And mine's are probably very much similar to those.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, Mike. I want to be my children's hero.
I was going. So I'm going down that line when I thought about it. Brothers, let's step up. Yeah, I'm looking at you all, brothers. Let's step up. We've got to start. Some of us need therapy. Some of us need other kinds of help. We have chips on our shoulders. We have. Say it again, brother.
Come see me. Come give me a call. Give me a call.
You got the brother right here. He'll have that conversation with you. It's time to step up. It's time to deal with a lot of the traumas that we've had. Certain people have dropped the ball, and that it is what it is. There's nothing that we can do to change what happened in the past. All we can do is like this whole starting to that. This is a part of the legacy thing. It starts today, and it starts with you. And you can be that legacy builder, positive legacy builder. You're leaving something. All right. I think it should be positive. The brother said he wants to be the hero to his kids, right? So that starts with the sacrifice of having to let certain things go. Do not allow it to be visited upon your kids. My mother had a great quote she used to say. It comes from the Bible. She said, "The father eats the sour grapes and leaves the kids
sweet."
Say it again.
And leaves the sweet for the children.
Yeah. So, leaves the teeth on edge.
Okay.
You're right. So, but I like the sweets. That one's even. I like that as well. So it's like, okay, cool. We had this situation. A lot of our things. Now, I'm not going to take away from our systemic, especially when I spoke to you about houses being the biggest wealth transfer. Well, there's times in recent times where we went from redlining to unfair lending practices, where we got caught up in that type of stuff. So we're not, there's a lot of things that went on. We know now. And we know that there's always these things. That's why we have to get knowledge, get the understanding.
Yeah, right? Say it, Mike. Say it.
Yeah. So we have to get with all the getting, get the understanding. So with all this going on, is that okay? Cool. Now you got two brothers, and listen. I know I can be busy, right? My phone is on do not disturb for the majority of the day. I'm not gonna lie. You know what I mean? I got certain people who come through. Certain people are texting me. I get back as soon as I can. People call me. I get back as soon as I can. But I will make time and priority for people who are willing to move in the right direction. And anyways, I'll have conversations with people. It's not like I'm not having conversations. I know the brother is busy as well. But this is also a part of his job. This is a part of the Tenacity Foundation. So that's why you got to get up underneath the Tenacity Foundation and follow him, because this is pertinent information. We need to get it together. And it's going to come quick, fast, and in a hurry. This is an excellent time to start thinking about legacy and wealth, because we are at that point in period. It hasn't been another period like this since the 1900s, where you had all the barons, you had the Flaglers, you had the Morgans, you had the what's my guy's name? Not Napoleon Hill, but the guy who got him to write the book. Anyways, the Fords, etc. So there's a lot of that going on. It's time for us to start stepping it up, start moving in that direction. Here's another thing, last thing, and I'm gonna let the brother talk. We got it. One of the biggest ways to transfer wealth, to have a legacy, is in regards to the family structure, the traditional family structure. There's a reason why there's a traditional family structure, and there's a reason why people who follow the traditional family structure end up being quite successful. So when you look at a lot of different cultures and you see that the traditional family structure is intact, they tend to pass wealth on. If you look at some of the most paid demographics, right? If you look at some of the most paid demographics, probably the one is probably besides the American Indians, they're like at the top of it across the board. But when you look at all their demographics, the people who have the highest wealth or are bringing in the most amount of money a year, they tend to stick to a traditional family structure. And they don't forsake their elders. They're not putting their elders away. They have family homes.
Big stuff.
So you have a huge, they buy these bigger homes, and they have the mother-in-law suites. The mother-in-laws tend to be there. They bring the fathers back in. They take care of the families, and the families take care of them. Think about it. Think about if you could bring in your grandma and grandpa to come help with the kids. Guess what? $200, $300 of daycare is not going out. $200, $300 is staying within that family structure. Remember, I spoke about that family, starting to build your family banking structure, right? These are all things that we need to think about. These are all things that require sacrifice. These are all things that require proper planning, and you will get there. That's what I want to work with the brother about. I'm working with the brother about is to have that plan of action that we can put in we can put it in something small and easy, and we can just hand it to you and say, listen, as long as we start doing this, this is how we're going to go. I'm seeing Nicole wrote something. What do we got? She said, my cousin purchased a home cash from her mom passing away. I think that's a great gift and a great start. Oh, Nicole, that's it. That's it. You put your children in position. Put them in position. It's sad. Listen, I'm telling you, what we spoke about. My mother, God bless her soul. God bless her soul. Put me in some of the in great positions. Great positions. Would not go further without her. Put your kids in good positions. That what your cousin's mother did for her is awesome. You know, we need more stories like that across the community, brother. All right, I'm done.
We do. And that was a great story. You know, you got to appreciate things like that, because, you know, a lot of people that have developed this type of legacy lifestyle have really not been brown and black. There are some. Don't get me wrong, Mike, you're the statistician. I'm sure you can get us some numbers. But the unfortunate reality is that many brown and blacks have not been passed down. And I think you said it earlier, because, whatever it is, chips on the shoulder or somebody thinking someone's going to get ahead. My grandmother would say, you just afraid that I'm going to work harder than you. People walking around being afraid that they're going to work harder than somebody else. Don't nobody want to work the hardest. Think they're going to get by with something. You should, listen, strive to be the hardest working individual in the room. And then if you're in the room where you're the smartest one, maybe you ought to exit that room and get into a room where you're not the smartest one. Yeah. Because if you're the smartest one, you ain't never going to go beyond what you know, because nobody can teach you anything. So you actually should be in a room where you are not the smartest, but you are the humblest, so that you can learn what everybody else is doing right that you haven't learned yet. This is what we need to be giving to our children, Mike. This is what I'm giving to my kids. My mother gave me a lot, but now I got so much that sometimes, maybe sometimes I pass on something to her now, because of how she set me up. Like you said about your mom. Shouts out to your mom. I love her, and my mom as well. I love her as well, but now I'm leaving something for my children, and I'm looking for the day when my children can come back and say, well, Dad, that worked then, but let me show you something.
Come on.
Talk to me. I didn't plant all those seeds inside of you so that you couldn't grow beyond me. No, be a greater tree.
Yeah.
Be a wider tree. Matter of fact, be such a great tree that if I ever were to come to an age where I need somebody to lean on, I don't got to go find somebody out there in the world, but I can lean on you.
Yep.
Why don't we're living in a world where, you said it too. I love the culture in the Philippines, because they continue to grow and develop with their families. I love that culture. I don't know why in America, as soon as somebody gets old, they start putting them in these nursing homes. Nursing homes making tons of money, and they don't even, and people are dying in there and getting all types of diseases and stuff like that going into a nursing home. Now, I don't mean to talk bad about nursing homes. Some of them are clean and everything else, but I'm gonna tell you something. Why can't we take care of our families at home? Is it so hard? Mama brought you up, wiped your butt, daddy went to work sometimes, going back and forth, sometimes couldn't see the family. I don't know about all days. I know about me. Sometimes I work so much, I wasn't able to see my family, and I missed them. Got to call them on the telephone just to talk to them, because I'm gone making sure that I take care of what I take care of so that they can have better than I did.
Yeah, brother. It's like I said, a lot of trauma. It's a lot of trauma, but we have to be the ones. It starts with us, right?
It starts with us.
Yeah, it starts with us to start moving in that direction, and that comes with a lot. You got to have that growth. It's not easy, guys. We talk about it, but it is simple, and it gets easier as we start to open our minds and receive a lot of these different things. It gets easier as you start to receive it and get a better understanding of it, right? But this is what you want. You can't be mad at the past. I think that's what, when you say that they don't want to bring the parents back into the household because they're mad at the parents for whatever reason. I get it, right? I get it. But it is what it is.
People work with what they have.
Yeah.
And it's hard to walk in another person's shoes.
Yeah.
So, sometimes you just got to leave the past in the past.
Right.
Thank God for the present, because it's a gift. And
Right.
hopefully you'll see the future. If you live right, maybe you will. So, anyway, listen, Mike, there's so much more. I think we could probably go into more detail. We might have to do another show, but I think we need to start winding it up. What do you say?
Yeah. Listen, man, I appreciate everyone that checked in, Nicole. Man, there were so many people that came in. I kind of forgot that were liking and commenting. Herb, Jeremy, man, shouts out to you guys.
Arlene Lesson.
We got Arlene. Yeah, I see Arlene right down here. Listen, we appreciate it. We appreciate you guys checking in each and every time. Like I said, please like, share. We're here at 6:30 every Friday. I'll be back on Monday on my Facebook channel and the YouTube channel. Check us out. Last week was fire once again. Listen, people. There's a lot of gems that are being dropped. Of course, the brother Joel got something new that he started last week, or that came out last week. Go ahead, brother. Talk about the new podcast, man.
Yeah, so the podcast is called It Starts With Me. So we've had one show. Yeah, the Motivational Mike Monday. That's what it was. Turned. Yeah, definitely. That's at 9:00 on Monday. And then come on out with us 12:30 on Wednesdays for the podcast and live stream. We're going to be live streaming it to Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. It Starts With Me. And then it'll be featured as a podcast for those y'all riding along. You'll see it on Spotify, Anchor, and also Apple. And this upcoming podcast next Wednesday, we're going to have Mike. Mike's going to give us a little something about, King Mike. King Mike. I've renamed him, y'all. I don't care what name he goes by. He's Real Estate King Mike. I don't care what, y'all. He can call himself whatever he wants, but that's his name. Real Estate King Mike. He looked like a king, So the Real Estate King Mike is going to be there on Wednesday. Now this is going to be a pre-record. Every time I work at the fire station, I do a pre-record. All right, so it'll be a pre-record on this Wednesday with Mike, and we're going to learn about what the transitional phase that he went through that brought him into real estate, that brought him to become the man that he is today. And then, of course, we're back here for the Community Beacon, 6:30 every Friday. Shout out to all of those that liked, loved, and joined all of the different channels that we're on. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, people, man. We're logging out for this Friday night. Remember to take care of yourself. Happy New Year once again. Be safe, man. Be comfortable. Please take some, and if you have any information, or especially those who are catching us on the replay, you have any comments, please shoot it to us. We love to hear about it, love to talk about it. A lot of great things in the works as we continue moving forward and we keep on progressing. Remember, you guys, you can be anything you want to be if you put your mind to it, and you can have anything that you want to have as long as you help others get what they want. Let's go, people.
Community Beacon, Fridays at 6:30 EST, with your hosts Michael Seville and Joel Simmons, a channel whose focus is liberty, a place where the lessons discussed and taught will create openings to a more open and freer mindset. a mindset where you may reach the height of your potential and excel. Here are your hosts, Mike and Joel.